You mentioned a little bit there about Alexander Isak, how he's recovering physically from that minor thigh injury earlier in the summer. But what about, I suppose, his mental state and his stance right now towards where his future is likely to head?
Yeah, well, look, that was the official line. That Isak had a minor thigh injury, and that's why he didn't travel with Newcastle on their pre-season tour. But look, without doubt, Newcastle and Eddie Howe wanted Isak with them. They didn't want him recovering by himself. Clearly, in addition to that, that was a bit of a smokescreen for the fact that his head has been turned by Liverpool's interest in him. Their unofficial approach a couple of weeks ago, they've made it clear they want to add him to their striking ranks, and I think at this stage of his career, 25, almost 26, he sees this as a real sweet spot in terms of moving. Yeah, and he also feels that he was promised, or he was told he would get paid more at Newcastle than what he is at the moment. He would receive a pay rise and a contract extension. That hasn't come about. Those talks have been shelved, and we're stood here, and it's a bit of an impasse. So look, his head is turned without doubt. Newcastle are hugely frustrated by the situation. I think frustrated even more by the fact that they can't sit round the table with him and talk, due to the fact, as I said, he's in Spain and they're in South Korea. And it's getting to the stage where something is going to have to give here, because his relationship with the supporters has become strained at best. I can see some of the things that are written on social media. The fans not happy about the way he's gone about things. But he's obviously felt, and his representatives have felt, that if he is to get the dream move to Liverpool, he's going to have to agitate to some extent, and that is what he's doing at the moment. Not been great, because the supporters, I think, have kind of turned on him a little bit. As a result of that, he has told Newcastle he wants to explore the potential for a move away from the club.
Keith, given the fact that the informal approach happened a couple of weeks ago, then we've had bid number one. Bid number two seems to be coming soon, it would appear. What does that tell us about the timeline of when Liverpool at least want this deal done? We've still got a month left in this transfer window.
We expect Liverpool to come back in with a second formal offer. They're preparing that formal offer as we speak. But Newcastle standing firm, rejecting the first one on those two reasons that I say. So 110 million plus around £5 million in add-ons that Newcastle have turned down for two reasons. One, it doesn't meet the valuation. And two, if they were to sell him, if they were forced to sell him, they would want a top level replacement lined up, and they have not managed to do that so far. This is a big transfer. It's an eye-watering sum of money. We saw Liverpool do a deal earlier in the window for Florian Wirtz. They wanted to do that early due to the figures that were involved. Similar sort of figures is their first bid here. Similar fee that they paid for Florian Wirtz. I don't think this one will drag on until the end of the transfer window. I don't think Newcastle can allow that. There's too much. There's too many numbers involved. I think Newcastle will want something concrete out of this. A resolution one way or the other, probably within the next 10 days, I would suggest. So it's going to be intriguing to see what happens next week when Isak's back and Newcastle are back. There's obviously a chasm between them at the moment, with Newcastle away out in South Korea and Isak in San Sebastian in the Basque region. But I just think this is the sort of transfer Newcastle can't leave until the end of the window. They need to find some kind of resolution to this. But as I say there, Newcastle looking for a replacement, and a top level replacement as well.
Darwin Núñez is on the verge of leaving Liverpool this summer, with the club actively engaged in talks to sell the Uruguayan striker following two mixed seasons at Anfield. After arriving from Benfica in 2022 for a fee that could rise to £85 million, Núñez showed early promise with his physicality, pace, and flashes of clinical finishing. However, under new manager Arne Slot, his role has diminished significantly. In the 2024-25 campaign, Núñez made only 8 Premier League starts, scoring 7 goals across the league season, and was regularly benched in favour of other forwards like Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz, and Diogo Jota. With the arrival of Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt in July for £79 million, and Liverpool continuing to explore further attacking reinforcements, the writing is on the wall for Núñez, who is no longer seen as central to the club's future plans. The most concrete interest in Nunez currently comes from Saudi Pro League giants Al Hilal, who have revived their pursuit of the striker after making 2 failed bids earlier in the year. Reports indicate that Al Hilal has submitted a formal offer to Liverpool and are offering Nunez a lucrative long-term contract, making him one of their marquee European signings. Talks are ongoing, and sources close to the club suggest that Liverpool are now far more receptive to negotiating a deal in the region of 65 to 70 million euros, a figure that would allow them to recoup a significant portion of their original investment. Nunez himself is reportedly open to the move, even though his preference earlier in the window was a return to European football, specifically with Serie A champions Napoli. However, Napoli's most recent offer, a package worth around 55 million euros, fell well short of Liverpool's valuation, and the Italian side has since shifted its focus elsewhere. Meanwhile, Atletico Madrid has also expressed interest in bringing Nunez back to La Liga, where he played briefly with Almeria before his move to Benfica. Though no official bid has been submitted yet, Atletico are believed to be considering an offer in the 60 to 65 million euros range. Newcastle United have also been linked as a potential Premier League destination, particularly if they lose Alexander Isak, though sources suggest that Nunez is not their top priority at this time. For Liverpool, the urgency to sell comes not only from Nunez's declining role but also from their aggressive recruitment drive under Slot. The club has already spent close to £300 million this summer on players including Ekatike, Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, and Milos Kerkez, and they remain interested in additional signings, potentially including another forward if Nunez departs. Liverpool are closing in on a move for Crystal Palace centre-back Marc Guéhi, as the club accelerates plans to reinforce its backline during Arne Slot's first summer transfer window in charge. With the £35 million sale of promising defender Jarell Quansah to Bayer Leverkusen completed, and ongoing uncertainty surrounding Ibrahima Konaté's future, Guéhi has now been identified as a primary defensive target. Guéhi, 24, has just 1 year remaining on his contract at Selhurst Park and has reportedly told Palace he will not sign an extension, meaning the South London club are increasingly open to selling him now rather than risk losing him for free next summer. Multiple sources, including The Standard and This Is Anfield, confirm that Liverpool are in advanced talks with Guéhi's representatives, and personal terms are said to have been verbally agreed. The player is understood to be highly enthusiastic about the opportunity to join a Champions League club and challenge for major honours, particularly with the 2026 World Cup on the horizon and England manager Gareth Southgate closely monitoring his development. Despite personal terms being largely settled, the clubs have yet to agree a transfer fee. Crystal Palace initially valued Guéhi at £60 to £70 million, but with the defender entering the final year of his contract and no serious progress on renewal, they are now expected to accept a fee in the region of £45 to £50 million. Liverpool, however, are reportedly aiming to pay closer to £35 to £40 million, a figure they believe more accurately reflects both the player's contract status and their internal valuation structure. While negotiations are ongoing, Palace's position has softened somewhat in recent weeks, especially amid interest from other Premier League clubs like Tottenham and Manchester United. Still, Liverpool are seen as the front-runners, both in terms of progress and appeal to the player. Guéhi is thought to be attracted to Slot's project at Anfield, and Liverpool's current lack of left-sided centre-back depth gives him a strong chance of regular playing time, something he views as essential if he hopes to maintain his place in the England squad ahead of the next major international tournament. Liverpool are intensifying their efforts to sign Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak, as the club prepares to submit a significantly improved offer following the rejection of their first bid. Their initial proposal, reportedly worth around £110 million, was swiftly turned down by Newcastle, who value the Swedish international closer to £150 million. Undeterred, Liverpool are now preparing a second formal bid believed to be worth up to £140 million, including structured add-ons, and are hopeful it will bring them closer to an agreement. The proposed package would break Liverpool's transfer record again, just weeks after the signing of Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen for around £116 million. According to multiple sources, including Football Insider, The Standard, and This Is Anfield, the Reds have already agreed personal terms with Isak, who has reportedly expressed a clear desire to make the move to Anfield and play under Arne Slot in a team aiming to challenge for both the Premier League and Champions League titles. Isak's interest in the move has only strengthened in recent days, as he was left out of Newcastle's pre-season tour of Asia, officially due to a minor thigh issue. However, several insiders suggest the decision was strategic, as the player has been training separately from the main squad and is said to have informed the club of his desire to leave. With no new contract offer on the table from Newcastle and Liverpool pushing hard, the situation has entered a decisive phase. Newcastle maintain a public stance that Isak is not for sale, but their pursuit of replacements, including RB Leipzig's Benjamin Šeško and Brentford's Jon Wissa, indicates they are preparing for a possible departure. Newcastle's need to comply with financial fair play regulations and their limited commercial revenues compared to top six rivals may also factor into their eventual decision, especially if Liverpool's new bid closes the valuation gap. For Liverpool, the signing of Isak would cap off a remarkable summer transfer window under Arne Slot. The club has already signed Hugo Ekitike, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Florian Wirtz, and could offload several senior players, including Darwin Núñez, who is reportedly close to a move to Al Hilal. The players' camp remains in close communication with Liverpool officials, and though Newcastle are reluctant sellers, pressure is mounting from both financial and sporting angles. With just a few weeks left in the transfer window, Liverpool are expected to push hard to close the deal and usher in a new attacking era led by one of Europe's most exciting number 9.